What's up, guys? We are back with a full slate of college basketball action here on Friday, March 14th. We're going to break down most of the NCAA games today. We're going to look at bets on the side and over-under, and make sure you're checking that pinned comment throughout the day to see if there are any changes as injury news and player availability is confirmed. Yesterday, we ended up doing okay. We were very close to a 3-0 day, also very close to a 1-2 day because, guys, we were right there. The hook was important there on Thursday. We had Wichita State minus 3.5. That was a 5-point win. Kind of a spicy second half there, but Wichita State managed to hang on and get that win for us. So put a win on the board to start the day. That always feels good. We had Ole Miss minus 3.5. Sean Padula ended up winning that game for them with a late 3 with 1.3 seconds left, but unfortunately winning by 3, not going to get the job done for us. The hook gets us there on Ole Miss, but we had Xavier plus 2.5. A crazy half-point win there for us. They blew a 10-point halftime lead. They end up losing that game, but they only lose by 2, so we get the win on that one by the hook. So a 2-1 day, we'll take it. Not the end of the world, obviously, to have a nice little winning day. Guys, slam that like button. Once we get to 1,000 likes, we're giving away a Stump the Spread hoodie to one random commenter, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Once we get to 50,000 subscribers, we're less than 800 subscribers away. We're giving away another hoodie. If you're a huge fan of what we do here every single day, you can sign up for a channel membership by clicking the little join button right below the video. Channel members, you get early access to all of my videos. You get their name up on screen just like right now, but most importantly, you get access to our monthlies, members only giveaways. We'll be giving away a Stump the Spread hoodie to one random channel member on March 20th, the first day of the NCAA tournament. All of our videos are sponsored by StumpTheSpread.com. We have a team of experienced cappers over there. All of us have at least 15 plus years in the industry, and together we cover all the major sports. Right now, our premium members are getting daily college basketball, NBA, NHL, and UFC picks, and Major League Baseball, our most profitable sport the last 3 years running, is right around the corner. Click the link in the description to head over to StumpTheSpread.com and see everything we offer, including free-to-use bet size calculators, exclusive free picks not covered in this video. The free pick yesterday was San Jose State. They easily covered for us despite losing the game, and all of our premium top confidence picks. If you aren't ready to become a premium member just yet, sign up for a free account to get access to our email newsletter, which will get you free picks straight to your inbox every day and updates on results. Just make sure to check your spam folder. Comment below with any bets you're looking at today or any other feedback you have for me, and I will personally respond to your comment. As always, guys, our favorite picks will be in the pinned comment down below. Now let's get into our first game of the day. It is an early morning, a 10:30 a.m. tip between St. Bonaventure and VCU. The Bonnies come into this game fresh off a 64-59 win over Duquesne there in their first game of the Atlantic 10 tournament. They did a decent job, obviously, getting the win, but when you're only winning by 5 points against a Duquesne team, I'm not going to be ready to throw you a parade for that. Melvin Council Jr. has been the best scorer for this team, and he put up 18 points. Him and Jones led the way there, each with 18, but yeah, not necessarily the smoothest sailing there for this Bonnies team that over the course of the season has really struggled offensively, averaging under 70 points per game, 317th in the nation in total offense. The rebounding numbers don't look great either, but the defense is solid. Got to give them credit there. They did have won their last 3 games overall, so that looks positive, but now, they've got to face a little bit stiffer competition here, taking on a VCU team that the last time these two teams faced each other, we saw the Bonnies not really come out on top. So definitely room for concern there, losing that one 75-61 at VCU the last time they faced the Rams, and the Rams come into this game 25-6 on the season. They were the top team in the A10 this year. They did finish things off in the regular season with a tough 79-76 loss against Dayton, but now they're ready to, get back to work here in the conference tournament, and we'll see what they can get done over the course of the season. This team has looked excellent, guys. Very solid offensively, one of the best defensive teams around, giving up only 62.7 points per game. The rebounding numbers also elite. Max Shugla has put up great numbers this season, but he has not been alone, guys. This team has a plethora of options to beat you on a nightly basis. So things have looked pretty good for VCU. They're a team that definitely is focused on, a NCAA tournament bid, and that's what they're going to be going after here. But guys, it's a little bit concerning. They are pretty big favorites. The last time they faced each other, though, it was a big win there for VCU, although that game was quite a while ago, happening back on January 24th. But we liked what we saw from the Rams. They shot the ball really well from 3. They did a good job on the boards, having a slight deficit there. So that's maybe a slight concern, but overall, guys, looking at the numbers, I'm not shocked to see VCU favored by 10.5 points. We've got a total of 133.5. St. Bonaventure 19-12 against the spread this season, 17-14 to the under. VCU 19-11 against the spread, 17-13 to the over. So we've got kind of a mix of 2 different styles here. VCU willing to do a little bit more getting out and getting after it, and St. Bonaventure kind of wants to slow the game down a little bit more. I don't know who's going to necessarily prevail, whose style is going to, prevail in this spot. I want to lean a little bit maybe towards the Bonnies and the points in this one, but that even feels a little bit sketch. VCU definitely has the defense and the offense, if we're being honest, to blow them out. So this is probably a stay away spot for me in the first game of the day, but I wouldn't be too upset at anybody taking a little look at St. Bonaventure to, make this a competitive game. Next up, guys, an 11 a.m. tip, we have a great match. We've got number 23 Oregon taking on number 7 Michigan State out there in the Big Ten tournament. The Oregon Ducks in the Big Ten this year feels a little bit weird, but 24-8 on the season, not too bad. In conference play, they ended up going 12-8, so not incredible, but not bad. They finished the year on an absolute roll. They've actually won their last, 8 games in a row now, coming off of a 72-59 win there against Indiana. So that had to feel pretty good, taking down Indiana a couple times here in very recent memory, but pretty good stuff there. I mean, Shellstad scoring 18, so that was a good look. They pulled away late in that game. It was competitive at some points. TJ Bamba played great in this game as well. He put up, 17 points for him. So pretty good stuff, honestly, but now they have a much, much tougher test. Ironically enough, this is the last team that beat them was the Michigan State, Spartans. Pretty good stuff there for Michigan State. This was a road game for Oregon, so that's not the easiest thing to do, but overall, we've liked what we've seen from Oregon. We just haven't been in love with it, but they've played great down the stretch. They're playing obviously on back-to-back days here, so we'll see if that has any effect on them, but they looked really good there against Indiana. Don't get me wrong, so we'll see what they do here against a Michigan State Spartans team that finished the year 26-5, comfortably atop the Big Ten. They're the best team, 17-13 in conference play. Pretty wild stuff. They sealed the deal there at the end of the year with a huge win over number 17 Michigan, sweeping the season series there against the Wolverines. So just very, very good stuff from this Spartans team. Really no areas to complain about. Maybe they don't have a big time leading scorer, but they have different guys that step up on a nightly basis. They've got a lot of very solid talent. They're an elite level rebounding team, 16th in the nation in total rebounding. They're elite on defense as well, and both of those things tend to travel pretty well. The offense looks good as well, 74th in the nation in scoring, and they have to feel pretty good about what they did the last time they faced Oregon, getting a 12-point win. Obviously, that was a home game for Michigan State, but they did a good job defensively. They destroyed Oregon on the boards, which is probably a pretty big concern here for the Ducks. And the free throw numbers were very, very even. So no real homer situation in there for Michigan State. So we'll see what goes on in this game in obviously a neutral location there in Indianapolis, Indiana. Looking at the numbers, Michigan State 5.5-point favorites. We've got a total of 143.5. Oregon 15-16-1 against the spread this season, 16-16 to the over/under. Michigan State 21-9-1 against the spread, 21-10 to the under. I don't really see this being a close game, if I'm being honest, guys. I think we want to be on Michigan State in this one. Oregon played well. I just don't think this is a very good matchup for them. I think Michigan State is going to dominate this game on the boards like they did earlier in the season when these two teams matched up, and the Spartans have been the far better against the spread team all year long. All of that to me ends up with Michigan State -5.5 having a very realistic chance to end up in the pinned comment. Next up, guys, we got Ole Miss taking on number 3 Auburn out there in the SEC tournament. Ole Miss comes into this game fresh off that crazy 83-80 win there thanks to that Sean Padula late game 3. I mean, maybe they would have won it anyway in overtime or something like that, but that was a very, very, that was a big time shot. Unfortunately for us, we do end up losing that one to the hook. We had them at -3.5, but a good win nonetheless for the Rebels, and they now earn the right to take on Auburn. A dubious honor at best, but we'll see what they can do out there against a team that has comfortably defeated them twice already this season. This Ole Miss team, solid, top 90 in the nation in offense. The defense, I'm not going to throw them a parade. It's not incredible, and the rebounding is a big concern, especially in a matchup like this. Sean Padula has put up good numbers for sure, but is he going to be able to have success against a team as good as Auburn? Well, we're going to have to wait and see. The last time they faced Auburn, they lost that game at Auburn by 30 points. 3-0, 106-76. So, can't be feeling too good about that. The Auburn Tigers obviously, finished things off strong there in the SEC with a 15-3 conference record, the top team in the conference. They did lose their last 2 games, though, of the conference schedule, losing against Texas A&M and then losing a heartbreaker, a 2-point game there against number 7 Alabama. So, definitely a team that's looking to kind of get back on the right track. Auburn, a team that very, very much has their eye on a, top 4 seed there in the NCAA tournament. Like, they want to be one of the number 1 seeds. So I think they have a very valid case to make there, but they need to win some games here in the conference tournament, or suddenly I feel like things could get a little bit sketchy depending on what other teams do. So we'll see what happens here against Ole Miss. The last time they played, it was obviously that blowout that we were talking about. Johnny Broome, an absolute monster, one of the best players in the nation. This is a top tier, absolute top tier offensive team. They can crash the boards. They play defense. There's really not a lot of weaknesses to find for this team. The last time, Ole Miss and Auburn played, it was a little bit ago, not that long ago. Yeah, back on February 26th, we saw Auburn shoot 52.4% from three. They shot 33 free throws, but both teams shot 30 plus free throws. The rebounding margin was significantly in Auburn's favor. They out-rebounded Ole Miss 33-20. So, looking at this game, no shocker here. We see a big spread. Auburn, 11.5-point favorites. Ole Miss, 15-16-1 against the spread, 17-15 to the over. Auburn, 17-13-1 against the spread, 20-11 to the over. With a total of 154.5, you could talk me into the over, I suppose. That's a little bit sketchy. That's a lot of points, but these two teams can definitely score it. I also think you want to be on Auburn here at minus 11.5. I think they're going to need a comfortable win and cover against an Ole Miss team that is going to be playing hard. This could be a little bit sketchy. I could see Ole Miss kind of giving Auburn a game here. I don't know, guys. If Auburn plays up to their potential, they're going to blow out Ole Miss. That's just the way it is. Will that happen? Hard to tell in these conference tournament games sometimes, but I definitely think this is a good spot to be on the over and to be on Auburn. Next up, guys, we got the Wichita State Shockers taking on the Memphis Tigers. Wichita State 19-13 on the season, fresh off of a kind of close, kind of competitive 5-point win there against USF. Thank you, Shockers, for getting the winning cover for us, though. We'll definitely take that. Now, after, a nice conference tournament win, you got to do it again. You got to run it right back and hope that you're solid rebounding and, pretty good play there from guys like Odom and guys like, Xavier Bell will carry you here because you're taking on a very tough opponent in the Memphis Tigers. Although it's a team you've already beaten this season. They took down then number 14 Memphis 84-79 early in the year. So that's something to definitely take into consideration here. I mean, the Tigers have been a good team, 26-5 on the season, the top team out there in the American, currently ranked, 16th in the nation. They're fresh off of a blowout win against USF. They've won their last 5 in a row, but the game before that was that loss against Wichita State. They beat Wichita State once, lost to them once. It was an 8-point win, and then that 84-79 loss. So we'll see what PJ Haggerty and company can do in this one. This is a very good offensive team, but the rebounding kind of sus. The defense, okay. We're not going to get too wrapped up in that, but looking at this overtime win there from Wichita State, the last time these two teams faced each other back on February 16th, we saw this happen despite the Shockers shooting only 4 of 21 from the field, and it happened thanks to them out-rebounding Memphis by 11, and the free throw margin was fairly even as well. So I think these two teams are pretty evenly matched here, guys. Memphis, though, the odds makers disagree. They're 9.5-point favorites. We got a total of 148.5. Wichita State 14-14-3 against the spread, 20-11 to the under. Memphis 15-16 against the spread, 16-15 to the over. Guys, I think this is a very good spot. We're going to be back on Wichita State getting points here. Is this going to go in the pinned comment? I would say it's very, very likely. I just think they're a tough matchup here for Memphis. Memphis probably the more talented team overall. I think that is kind of obvious at this point, but I just think Wichita State matches up with them, plays them pretty tough. They're a better team on the boards, which is obviously a very big deal. You get those extra possessions, especially in conference tournaments, that can really pay off. So definitely give me Wichita State getting 9.5 in this one. Next up, guys, we're looking at the Grambling Tigers taking on Alcorn State out there in the SWAC. Grambling comes into this game fresh off of a big 65-62 win there over Southern. So a nice win there, taking down the top team in the regular season there in the SWAC. This Grambling team has come on strong here at the end of the year, a little bit, winning 4 out of their last 5. But really, guys, that was a huge, huge upset win that they have to be feeling very, very good about. And yeah, obviously a situation where, you're going to have to win your conference tournament to make it into the NCAA tournament. And right now they find themselves in the SWAC tournament semifinal. So it's starting to look like they actually have something of a chance here. It took overtime for them to make it happen, but Grambling did indeed make it happen. So now we'll see what they can do. They're taking on an Alabama State team that they just lost to very recently, 59-47. Not a great look in that one. They did beat them by 10 points earlier in the season, so we'll see what happens in this one. Obviously, over the course of the year, the Tigers haven't looked great offensively or defensively or on the boards. They're a very slow pace of play kind of team, but maybe they can get the job in this one. They're going to have to play better than they did the last time they took on Alabama State, though. That is for sure. They lost that game despite the Hornets shooting only 21% from 3, and Grambling actually shot 35% from 3. The free throw numbers were even. The rebounding edge definitely went to Alabama State in that one, though. And looking at the this matchup here, guys, Grambling obviously taking on Alabama State. I believe I said Alcorn State earlier. That was I misspoke there. Yeah, definitely taking on Alabama State, not Alcorn State. But Alabama State comes into this game. They were 12-6 in conference play in the SWAC, so not a terrible team. They come into this one playing really well, winning 4 in a row, including that win over Grambling. So we'll see what they can do in this one. Amar Knox is a monster. This team's been very good offensively, decent on the boards, and maybe not great defensively, maybe not great, but they've been getting the job done recently. I mean, obviously holding an opponent to 47 points looks pretty good. They also had a win there over Southern, so that, boosts their resume a little bit as well. So looking at the numbers here, guys, we see Alabama State, not Alcorn State, minus 3.5. We've got a total of 131.5 here, so a pretty interesting little number there. Looking at the trends for this one, Grambling 13-17 against the spread, 17, 12, and 1 to the under. So this is maybe a spot to look at the under. These teams could both, slow down, play a slow pace of play, and play a lot of defense here. This isn't one that's going to go in the pinned comment. I think we just see Alabama State as the better team, to be honest. So give me Alabama State in this one as a slight lean, but not a pinned comment play for me. Next up, guys, we're looking at the A10. We've got St. Louis Billikens taking on the Loyola Chicago Ramblers. The Billikens went 11-7 in conference play this year, 19-13 overall. They've won their last 2 in a row, a nice 83-75 win there over Davidson. So now they're moving on in the conference tournament. They're up to the quarterfinals. So we'll see what kind of, progress they can make here against a Loyola Chicago team that they just absolutely demolished not too long ago. Kind of weird to see them lose at Loyola Chicago by 9, and then at home against Loyola Chicago win 98-67. So a casual 31-point blowout, no big deal. The Ramblers, a decent offensive team, a decent defensive team. They've kind of got a loaded roster, to be honest. I mean, Gibson Jimerson, a monster, 18.3 points per game. We love what we're seeing from Isaiah Swope, 16 points and almost 5 assists. And they've got Robbie Avila on the roster now, shooting 50% from the field and scoring over 17 per game. So this is a pretty loaded team that can do some interesting stuff. They're a team with plenty of experience here in conference tournament play and tournament play in general. So we like them a good amount. They've won 5 of their last 6 games down the stretch. There's a lot to like about them, and the fact that they blew out Loyola Chicago recently doesn't feel too bad either. But we'll see if the Ramblers can come up short again here. I mean, they come into this game winners of 2 in a row, taking down Davidson and UMass. A blowout against UMass to get them here. So yeah, well played there. But UMass not exactly the scariest opponent. I mean, 7-11 in conference play, not that crazy. Jaden Dawson leads his team in offense, but 13.5 points per game doesn't really get me going. Not an elite offensive team, not an elite rebounding team. They do play some defense, though. Got to give them credit there, but they were not defending their way out of a paper bag against St. Louis. When was that game, guys? Back on March 1st. So yeah, something like 2 weeks ago, we saw Loyola Chicago get absolutely destroyed. St. Louis came out and shot 52% from 3 in that game, 58% from the field. They crushed on the boards, and could we see that happen again here? Well, the odds makers have this game as a coin flip. Loyola Chicago minus 1.5. We've got a total of 142.5. St. Louis 12-18 against the spread, 21-9 to the under. Loyola Chicago 15-15 against the spread, 15-14-1 to the over. Guys, I am taking the experience. I'm taking St. Louis in this one. I think they get the comfortable win and cover here against, albeit an interesting team, but that blowout win has to give them all the confidence in the world. They've got too much talent, too much experience on this roster. I think the Billikens absolutely roll in this one and casually cover that 1.5 points. Next up, guys, we got a Big Ten showdown between number 18 with Wisconsin and UCLA. The Badgers come in this game 24-8 on the season, 13-7 in conference play. Their last game was a nice, 70-63, so maybe not necessarily a blowout, but a win nevertheless there against Northwestern. So they'll definitely take that. Keeps them alive here in the conference tournament, survive and advance now on to the next round. So that all has to feel good. John Tanji, a monster. This team has been incredible offensively this year, no doubt about that. 37th in the nation, scoring over 80 points per game. The defensive numbers have remained pretty solid, giving up around 70 per game. Their rebounding not bad either. So you like to see them get a win there in the opening round. Now they got to take on a UCLA team that they haven't played in quite some time, guys. It was quite a while ago they went to UCLA, so that long trip all the way out to California, and took the 85-83 loss. So that probably doesn't feel great. So they've got a revenge angle in this game as well. So we'll see if they can take advantage of that here going up against this Bruins team that's 22-9 on the season. They finished the year 13-7 in conference play as well, so tied there with Wisconsin, but it was kind of a convoluted way to get there. They're fresh off of a 90-63 win against USC, but now they've got to get into the swing of things here in the conference tournament. So we'll see how that goes. This is kind of a defensive first type team for UCLA, but the weird thing is they're a very good defensive team, but they're a very, very weak rebounding team. So that's going to be pretty important here in tournament time, guys. It's a kind of a big deal. This team doesn't have a big time leading scorer necessarily. Like I said, the rebounding sucks, but the defense is top notch. So we'll see if that top notch defense can slow down the top notch offense of Wisconsin. UCLA actually getting 1.5 points in this game. We've got a total of 141.5. Something to take note of in these games here for these new teams in this conference. These games are happening in Indianapolis, Indiana. A far cry there from California. So just something to take into account. Wisconsin 20-12 against the spread, 18-14 to the over. UCLA 18-12-1 against the spread, 17-14 to the under. I'm taking offense over defense in this spot. Maybe that's not a great idea in conference tournament play or just in tournament play in general. Defense tends to travel well, and you don't have an off defensive night. Usually you can have an off shooting night. That can happen. But Wisconsin with the revenge angle, the better against the spread numbers, and I think the much better overall team, especially on offense. I think they find a way to get the job done in this one and win in the game by at least 2. Next up, guys, we're out to the American. We're looking at Florida Atlantic taking on Tulane. Florida Atlantic comes into this game 18-14 on the season. They got a win, albeit a kind of sketchy win there against Charlotte, 64-59 there to survive and advance. But when it took you that much to beat the worst team in the conference, like that's a little bit sketchy. I mean, yeah, taking down Charlotte doesn't usually include a very close game, but hey, you'll have that sometimes, apparently. Not what I would have thought would happen, but they survived in advance. So really that's all that matters once it comes to conference tournament play. But FAU, definitely not a game they're going to want to look back on with any sort of happiness. They shot 2 of 10 from 3-point range in that game, and yeah, only 16 of 30 from the free throw line, and they were even on the boards with Charlotte. Like, just not a lot of good things to report there. And now they got to take on the Tulane Green Wave, who finished the season 12-6 there in conference play. A couple games there above Florida Atlantic, and Tulane comes into this game fresh off of a big time win against UAB. That was a big deal for sure. Obviously not a conference tournament game, but a good way to close out your regular season. In terms of their matchups against FAU this season, they got the 80-65 wins. That's a pretty convincing win there. That was a home game for Tulane, so it's a home game. Take that for what it is. But blowout there by Tulane, who's been an excellent team this season overall. They shot the ball terrible from 3 in that game, to be honest, but kept things pretty even there on the boards. They shot a few more free throws, but they just looked like they were moving the ball better, and they played some very good defense, holding FAU to only 40% from the field and 23% from 3. So liking that for Tulane right now. And also, guys, the Green Wave, Rowan Birnbaugh, a monster. This team is very, very reasonable there on defense. That's kind of the strength of this team, and their offense plays well also. So looking at the numbers here, guys, Tulane actually getting 3.5 points. We've got a total of 148.5. FAU 12-18-1 against the spread, a slight under team. Tulane 13-15-1 against the spread, a slight under team as well. I'm not that interested in under 148.5, but I would see why some people might like it. I think this is a great spot to take Tulane getting 3.5. I think this could be a wrong team favored kind of situation. I think they're the much better squad, and I think they take care of business in this one pretty handily. So this play definitely has a chance to end up in the pinned comment. Next on the docket, we've got the Texas Longhorns taking on number 8 Tennessee out there in the SEC tournament. The Longhorns come into this game 19-14 on the season. Their regular season was pretty brutal, guys, only going 6-12 there in conference play, but they've been playing well down the stretch. They got that win over Vanderbilt, and they followed it up with a pretty crazy win over number 14 Texas A&M. A 94-89 win, so they'll definitely take that. Not necessarily easy stuff there. Took them a couple overtimes to get the job done, but they do get the job done. So there's reason to be concerned. There could be a little bit of fatigue going on. The last time they faced Tennessee, though, they kept things very close. It was a 74-70 loss there for Texas. But this is a team that's been playing great down the stretch. They obviously have a monster in Trey Johnson, putting up big numbers all year long, scoring just over 20 points per game. But is that going to translate here against Tennessee? We're going to have to see. This could be a pretty tired Longhorn squad. So looking at their opponent in this game, Tennessee, They're ranked number 8 in the nation. They finished the year 12-6 in conference play in the SEC. They're fresh off of a 10-point win against South Carolina, and now they get to take on Texas here. So this will be a pretty big game, obviously. We've loved what we've seen from Tennessee this year. Chaz Lanier, a monster. Ziegler, a monster. This team is elite on the boards and crazy, crazy good defensively. A couple of skills that tend to travel and translate into tournament play very, very well. So we'll see if they can figure things out here against what's going to be at least a slightly tired Texas team. The last time these two teams played was much earlier in the season. Texas was looking for their first SEC win still. They did not get it, but Tennessee only won that game by 4 points. So we'll see what happens in this one. The Volunteers are 10.5 point favorites here. We've got a total of 135.5. Texas 16-16-1 against the spread, 20-11-2 to the over. Tennessee 16-15 against the spread, 18-13 to the under. I'm not going to be taking the over or under here, guys, but this is just too many points. Give me Texas and the points. It's not going in the pinned comment, but I think that's the way you want to lean. I know Texas could be exhausted playing in this game, but these are young dudes out there playing basketball. That's what they do every day of their lives. I think they're going to get an ice bath, a cold shower, whatever it needs. Ice those knees down, guys. They're going to get back out there. They're going to put up a good enough effort to keep this game close. I don't think they're going to win. I don't think this is a situation where Texas is going to come away with a win, but I do think they can keep it to single digits. Next up, guys, we're looking at number 25 Marquette taking on St. John's out there in the Big East tournament. The Golden Eagles, guys, still ranked number 25 in the nation. They got all they could handle from Xavier. They had to make a big second half comeback. Thank you, Xavier, for covering this game by that half point. We'll definitely take that. But now they got to take on a St. John's team that they just lost to in a very close game. It was a 2-point game. St. John's came out with the win, but that was super recent. I think that was the regular season finale there, and it took overtime for St. John's to get that win. So we'll be diving into what actually happened in that game quite a bit. On the season, Marquette, a good defensive team, decent offensively, but really weak on the boards and very dependent on the success of Cam Jones. If he has a bad game, this team gonna have a bad game. St. John's, they come into this one fresh off that blowout win there against Butler, so they'll definitely take that. We do see that Smith with his shoulder issue is questionable for St. John's, so I do pretty much expect him to play. We don't know for sure if that's going to happen, but yeah, we're content with what we saw from Butler in that blowout, or we're content with what we saw from St. John's against Butler in that blowout win. Winning those conference tournament games comfortably definitely takes off a lot of stress. This team is a monster in RJ Lewis Jr. They're an elite offensive team, an elite defensive team, and one of the best rebounding teams in the nation. In that overtime win against Marquette, the regular season finale there, we saw St. John's shoot only 20% from three. That's not a good look. They had an edge there on the boards. They did a pretty mediocre job of trying to contain Cam Jones. They actually gave up 32 points to him in that game, despite him only shooting 2 free throws. They did hold him to 4 of 13 from 3, but yeah, they didn't seem to have a lot of great answers in that one. So we're a little bit concerned here, and looking at the numbers, guys. St. John's is a 4.5 point favorite. We've got a total of 141.5. Marquette 14-17-1 against the spread, 17-13-2 to the under. St. John's 19-11-2 against the spread, 18-14 to the under. So both teams showing trends towards the under. If we would have seen this game end in regulation, we would have had 140, 150 total points in the last game. So I don't know if I can really justify taking the under in this one. I would maybe even lean towards the over, if anything, if we're taking a side. But I really think I'm leaning here towards Marquette. I think they're going to have the best player on the floor in this game. I think that matters a lot in these big conference tournament situations. I think it's going to be a nail biter. I think it's going down to the wire. I think it's going to be a one-possession game, and why would I not want to take the team getting 2+ free possessions? Next up, we've got number 24 Illinois taking on number 11 Maryland in the Big Ten Conference Tournament. And Illinois comes into this game, guys, 21-11 on the season. They finished the year 12-8 in conference play, which wasn't looking great, but they finished on a really hot run there, guys. They got destroyed by Duke in that non-conference game, but then they beat Iowa comfortably, beat Michigan comfortably, beat Purdue by 8, and then beat Iowa again in not quite as big of a blowout, but still by double digits. So we've liked a lot of things that we've seen from Illinois. They've had some bad runs this year as well. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the last time they faced Maryland, they took a 91-70 loss. So that's not a great look, and that was a home game for Illinois. This is obviously a neutral court game, but I don't know, guys. A little bit weird. It's been hard to figure out this squad. This game obviously going on there in Indianapolis, Indiana, so not necessarily a home situation for either team. Oh, man, I don't know. This Illinois team, tough to figure out. One of the top rebounding teams in the nation. Very good offensive team. Defense, maybe not insane, but they put up good numbers this year for sure. So I'm a little bit perplexed by their often struggles. They've not a team that's had clear sailing, and now they're taking on a Maryland team that's been not exactly in the same boat, guys. Maryland finished the year 14-6 in conference play, in second place in the Big Ten. They're coming off a third straight win, too. They took down Northwestern very handily. They beat Michigan. They beat Penn State. This is a team that hasn't had a lot of problems this year, to be honest. I mean, Derek Queen leading the way, 15, almost 16 points per game, well over 50% from the field. This is an elite offensive team. Crazy elite, but not as elite as their defense, guys. They're giving up around 66 points per game. Very dominant stuff. Do they have what it takes to slow down Illinois? Well, that's what we got to try to kind of figure out here. And it's going to be interesting. I mean, they did the first time these two teams met, but that was so long ago. Can we trust that information? We'll have to see. It's basically a coin flip. Maryland, a 1.5 favorites. We've got a total of 169.5. Illinois, a 500 against the spread team. They're a significant over team, 20-12 to the over. Maryland, 16-14-1 against the spread, 18-13 to the over. So I wouldn't be too upset about anyone that wanted to take over 159.5. Both teams scoring around 80 points in this game. Doesn't seem out of the question to me, but I'm going to be leaning a bit towards Maryland here. I think their defense is just going to be a little bit too much there for Illinois. I think they're going to be overwhelming there for the Fighting Illini. So give me Maryland in this one as a small lean. Next on the docket, guys, we got one of the most intriguing matchups in college basketball here on this big-time Friday slate of games. We've got North Carolina taking on Duke. The third time these teams are going to face each other this season, and it's looking an awful lot different in this one with Cooper Flagg going down with that ankle injury. North Carolina, they beat Notre Dame. They just took out Wake Forest in a 9-point game. Not exactly the best showing there by the Tar Heels, but they get the job done, and that's what matters. They're into the ACC semifinals. RJ Davis put up 23 points in that game, 5 3-pointers. The Tar Heels have been shooting the lights out in tournament play so far. That's not something we've seen really across the board. So they've got to be feeling good about themselves at the moment. I mean, they're an elite offensive team that plays very little defense, and the rebounding kind of gets left behind. So we'll see what they can do here against a Duke team that's beat them twice this season, but with no Cooper Flagg, the Blue Devils are looking like a completely different situation, guys. Duke 29-3 on the year, the top team in the ACC, all that, but with no Cooper Flagg, they beat Georgia Tech 78-70. So now they got to figure things out against an actual decent team, North Carolina. Duke, in their last matchup against North Carolina, they did get the 82-69 win, but Cooper Flagg scored 15 points in that game. He didn't play particularly great offensively, but he had 9 rebounds, 6 assists, and 4 blocks to go along with his 15 points. So it's a little bit sketchy, guys. Duke did shoot the ball really well from 3 in that game, shot 9 of 19 from long distance. North Carolina didn't. RJ Davis did score 20 points. The rebounding edge was negligible. Duke destroyed them on the boards. Are they capable of doing that without Cooper Flagg chipping in 9 rebounds? That's the big question here, guys. And looking at this, the numbers for this game, Duke 7.5-point favorite still without Cooper Flagg. We've got a total of 155.5. North Carolina 14-19-1 against the spread, 18-16 to the over. Duke 21-11 against the spread, 17-15 to the over as well. I'm not taking over 155.5, guys. But I think we have to stick with Duke here at -7.5. This is not a homer play. Ignore the hat. Ignore the hat. I think everybody's going to come in big on North Carolina. Duke's not going to know what to do without Cooper Flagg, yada, yada. This Duke team has been so good, not only because of Cooper Flagg, but because this is an absolutely loaded squad. Flagg didn't even play that well the last time they played against North Carolina, and they still won the game comfortably. I don't think we're going to see that change too much here in conference tournament action. I think Duke very locked in. They're going to be wanting to win these games. They don't want to lose, start looking bad, put more pressure on put more pressure on Cooper Flagg to come back. Sorry, I was just seeing the Cooper Cup, trade or not, release news. But I think you want to be on Duke -7.5. I think the public's going to come in on North Carolina getting 7.5 because of that Cooper Flagg news. We're going to go ahead and fade that. Give me Duke here at -7.5. Next up, guys, we got number 17, BYU taking on number 2, Houston in the Big 12. One of the biggest matchups of the day, guys. The Cougars, 24-8 on the season. They finished 3rd in the standings in the Big 12. They're coming up against a Houston team that they didn't exactly, have the best time against earlier in the season. They played at Houston very early on, and they took it on the chin. They lost that game 86-55. So a completely different looking team here for BYU. They've won their last, how many even is it? 9 games in a row now? Something crazy. They just took down Iowa State, number 12 Iowa State, in a barn burner of a game. So well played there by BYU. This team absolutely elite offensively. They scored 96 points in regulation against Iowa State. Crazy work there. BYU, a team that can score it. No doubt about that. They shot 50% They shot 36 threes. They made 18. They made 50%. Crazy work there. They had an edge on the boards as well. 23 points there from Richie Saunders. A monster performance there. A couple double-digit scores coming off the bench as well. This team can absolutely do it. So we're liking what we're seeing from BYU, no doubt about that, but they are about to be tested, guys. Severely tested. The Houston Cougars, fresh off of a game they were clearly not taking seriously there against Colorado. They ended up winning 77-86. So cool. Get that one out of the way. Now the real work begins here, taking on BYU. This Houston team has been insane defensively this season, guys. 58.1 points per game allowed. That is bonkers. That is absolutely crazy pants. You do not see that, guys. They've held down good teams. They've held Kansas to 59. They held Texas Tech to 61. They held Iowa State to 59. They held Arizona to 58. Like, you don't do this to teams. This just isn't a thing, but Houston makes it happen. So, loving what we're seeing from Houston. Like LJ Cryer's a good offensive player for sure. Their rebounding numbers are decent. Can they run it back here and blow out BYU again? Well, the odds makers think it's possible. Houston, 7.5-point favorites in this game. We've got a total of 134.5 out there. So reason to be interested in this one, I would say for sure. Obviously, this game being in Kansas City, Missouri, I'm not sure which team that really favors, guys. I would say it probably favors Houston a little bit, but we'll see. BYU, 20-12 against the spread this season, 19-13 to the over. Houston, 16-16 against the spread, 17-14-1 to the under. I'm not taking the under in this game, guys. If anything, I would lean towards the over, but the real question is, can BYU make this a real basketball game? And it's a tough question. It is a tough question. My gut here is leaning towards yes. I'm not going to trust just my gut. Obviously, you have to go off the numbers, and the numbers are going to keep me from putting this in the pinned comment because Houston demolishing them earlier in the season is a big concern. But if this game is officiated differently, if BYU is given a little bit of space and Houston can't play as physical as they want to play, that's going to spell a lot of trouble there for the Cougars. Now, maybe the refs will swallow the whistle and Houston will just destroy them again, but I'm going to lean a little bit the other way. I'm going to take BYU getting 7.5 points, but not enough confidence to really put it in the pinned comment. Next up, guys, we are headed out to the American. We've got Tulsa, the Golden Hurricane, taking on North Texas. Tulsa comes into this game, guys. They didn't have a great time in the regular season, 12-6 in conference play. They're fresh off a 75-71 win against Temple. They had a nice win against Wichita State to finish off their regular season. So some positive things coming up here down the stretch for the Golden Hurricane. Not a team that was very good over the course of the year. I mean, DeJuan Odom, 13.5 points, 5 assists per game. He was shooting 54% from the field, but that's their leading scorer. Their year-long numbers just don't look that impressive, but they played better down the stretch. A 10-point win at Wichita State is not nothing. Their 4-point win against Temple also doesn't look too bad. The concern here is, guys, they're playing North Texas, a team that they lost to 63-44 not so long ago. So we'll see if they can turn that around. It's kind of a big ask, but North Texas, guys, despite being 23-7 on the year and finishing the season 14-14 in conference play, this is not a team that really is known to blow out opponents. They are a defense-first style of team. They give up around 60 points per game, which is very respectable, obviously, but that does skew all their season-long numbers. They're fresh off a weird loss there against Temple to finish off their regular season, so that doesn't look great. This team has some nice games mixed in there, but they've also got some head-scratchers like that loss against UTSA, that loss against Temple that they just had. They played a very close game against Charlotte, eventually winning by 11, but when you're beating the worst team in the conference by 11, that's not exactly going to get me super jazzed up. So looking at this whole situation, guys, I mean, we see North Texas as 13.5-point favorites. That's a lot of points. We've got a total of 125.5. Tulsa, 14-16 against the spread, 16-14 to the under. North Texas only 13-12-3 against the spread, and they are a slight under team as well. This doesn't feel amazing necessarily. I do worry about Tulsa possibly getting just dominated in this game, especially if the refs let it be super physical. But guys, I can't not take Tulsa getting 13.5 here against North Texas. To be honest, I would take most teams getting double-digit points against this North Texas squad. I know they've had their share of blowouts this season, but not recently. And Tulsa's playing their best basketball this season. They're in desperation mode here in the conference tournament. Give me Tulsa and the points. I think they make this thing respectable. That's all the games we've got for this one, guys. Get over to stumpthespread.com. Get on that free email list so you don't miss out on any of those free pick winners. Also go over there, click on that free picks tab, see what we're offering. Check out our premium packages. If there's one that's right for you, go ahead and sign up. Let me know in the comments any questions you have on today's slate. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Make sure you're subscribing to the channel. Thank you everyone for watching, and we will see you tomorrow for more sports betting action.